There is a story, and it's kind of funny, or at least to me it is.
I know, but I'm almost empty, and I can't talk about it on the empty.
Then I will talk about it.
I'll be back.
We
I'm going to grab first. A lot of people think that this brewing, the brewery is this big, great thing. We actually only brew 10% of the time. I mean, the brewing part's the fun part. We just don't get to do it as often as we like. Our job is not that much different than yours in that we have good days and bad days. The biggest difference is at the end of our bad day, we can pour a pint, sit back and go, this is a bad day. Where typically most jobs frown upon that.
I started off as a home brewer, and I was home brewing in graduate school when I was up in New Haven, Connecticut. I kept talking about wanting to open a brewery and wanting to do more brewing, and my wife basically told me to do this or shut up about it. As a state employee, I was able to take some time off and go back to school. I went to the American Brewers Guild, which is one of the 3 major brewing programs in the U.S. From there, I became an apprentice brewer at Flying Fish Brewing Company in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, where I actually got to learn how to use the equipment on someone else's dime. And then I moved back here to open up Triangle Brewing Company here in Durham with Andy.
When we opened up the brewery, it was literally Rick and I pretty much handled, we kind of joked about if it happened outside of the walls, it was mine. If it happened inside of the walls, it was his. My background is hotel restaurants. I actually ran restaurants in the Triangle area. So when we opened up, I handled literally all of our sales. Well, 95%. 95% of our sales.
Before we opened, Andy and I were looking at, okay, well, what do we want to brew? And we thought originally either maybe starting off with a pale ale and an IPA. But the closer we got to getting our financing and getting closer to opening, we were realizing, well, everybody makes a pale ale, everybody makes an IPA. How is that going to differentiate us from the other beers in the area? How are we going to get difficult tap space? Because there's a limited number of taps out there. So I came back and talked to Andy and we're like, well, maybe we should go a different direction. So we introduced our first beer here, and our flagship remains and continues to be our Belgian style strong golden ale, which is an 8% Belgian golden ale. People thought we were nuts opening up a brewery in Durham with an 8% Belgian strong golden ale as our flagship. They really thought we were crazy when we put it into a can. We went back and forth a lot over this as we were looking at the difference between bottling and canning. 2 things that hurt beer the most are oxygen and sunlight, and cans don't allow either of those. All bottles get some light in them. All bottle caps will eventually leak. So we increased our shelf life on our beer.
And the other thing I would add to that is from an environmental standpoint, cans are so much easier to recycle than bottles. Then add to that, we actually get them out of a plant here in Reidsville, North Carolina. So you've got much smaller carbon footprint on getting the can here. We've got North Carolina labor doing it. So anything we can do to keep it North Carolina based is huge for us. And anything that we can do to make it much more environmentally friendly is a big thing for us.
We have 3 year rounds. The Belgian Golden Ale, our Belgian style white ale, and our India Pale Ale, our IPA. We've got a total of about 12 or 13 different beers that we've done. My favorite is always the one in my hand at the moment that I'm enjoying it with good friends. You might go out and you might have something that tasted unbelievable because you're enjoying yourself in the situation that you're in. And then you go back there and the second time you're not with the same people, you try that beer again and it just isn't as enjoyable. And it has nothing to do with the beer itself, it's just the moment. tours. We'll bring everyone in every Saturday. We'll give them free samples. We bring you from grain to glass through the whole brewing process. At 1 o'clock, we open the gates. We pour free samples from 1 to 1:30. We do the tour. That usually lasts about 30 minutes or so, depending on questions. Once the tour is over, we open up the taps again for like another 45 minutes to an hour for more free samples. Yeah, that costs us money, but that's part of our marketing budget to allow people to try the beer. If they come here, they have a great time, they try the beer, they might buy some to go. We sell growlers and 6-packs, we sell merchandise.
Well, it's an inexpensive way for us to market our product. One, they can get us in a setting that's not out at a bar or doing an event, so it's a little bit more laid back for them. They can actually talk with us and interact and see, you know, wow, I had this beer last night, and now I'm totally looking at where it's being made, and that's the coolest thing in the world.
People have so many choices of what they can purchase with their money. It's very humbling that they're willing to come here or to go out to a bar or buy a 6-pack of our beer and spend their money on that. So it's very rewarding for us also to hear people give positive feedback and unsolicited advice.
That part's not rewarding. Can you scratch that? Did you cover Rufus earlier?
Yes.
Good job. Because you know he would get upset if you didn't.
I know. Rufus is the patron saint of Triangle Brewing Company. This building was built in about 1954. It's a 2-story building, so there's a basement that's part clay and part cement. And in the clay section during renovations, when our landlord was renovating the basement, they found a body tucked in the clay section inside a garbage bag that had been tied from the outside, so obviously he didn't tie it himself. They didn't have dental records, DNA testing and records weren't available at that time, so they were unable to find out who he was, just that he was a male. So Andy and I and a few friends sat down and we had to name him, and we thought a good southern name was Rufus. And we actually have a reserve beer series called the Rufus Reserve Series. Rufus in Latin means red, so the first beer that we released in that series was our Imperial Amber, just in tribute to him. Every time something goes wrong around here, we attribute it to Rufus. I built him a pine coffin that I'll show you later that we take to festivals that we pour our beer out of. So he travels with us. We poured beer in the drain for him whenever, just to keep him appeased. Little weird things do happen around here. We just always attribute it to him. We'll do a chalk outline on the floor where I'll lie down and Andy will chalk outline me, and we'll move him around at different times. So if you come to our events here, you might see him in a different location. But he is the official boss and owner and ruler of Triangle Brewing Company. Really, it's just nice to be able to get up every day and not mind going to work. I joke about when I get up at 4 in the morning or something, that it's time to make the beer. But to come in here to do this, it's enjoyable. It's a lot more labor intensive than a lot of people think. We don't just sit around and drink all day. You just happen to catch us at a moment where we could sit down and drink.
And I think you said earlier, it's kind of humbling to go out to a bar and see somebody pull on your tab like, that guy is paying for what I made. And I don't know, for me it never gets old. It's kind of a cool thing, and then to sit back and you know, we'll go over the year and what we're doing and what we're looking to do in the future. You know, we rolled out 2 SKUs of cans this year, you know, the white and the golden. Well, you know, on the horizon, it's fun to look ahead and say, you know, which we put in a can next? You know, as we move forward, I just hope people still like us.
Whenever you go out and you see our taps, you're going to see Belgian golden or Belgian white, IPA, a stout, and there's no crazy name to try to figure out what style of beer it is. We're trying to educate the consumer to know exactly what they're ordering. This is the style of beer. This is what you're getting. There's no fluff to it. The beer's the fluff.
That, and I mean, how many times have you ever been at a bar and you had a beer, then when you leave, you're going, man, I wonder what kind of beer that actually was. It's a cool name. Our beer is our beer. We, you know, hopefully the beer's good enough we don't need to dress it up with a fancy name.
Or a cute animal or something else.
Cute animal would be nice.